Shall we begin, sir?
Yes, madam, ma'am, miss.
Okay. And is it me or is it you? Welcome to 44 and 1. This is Tempest. I'm GVizzle. Today we're going a little bit off script. We are, I don't know if many of you know, going way off script. Tempest and I have only known each other for 6-7 weeks now.
Something like that, yeah.
And
about an hour a week.
About an hour a week. And I feel like while we simultaneously know a lot about each other, we know absolutely nothing about each other. So today, we thought it would be a good idea to tackle top questions to ask when you're getting to know someone. We're going to do this a few times because there's a ton of questions. There's like 180 questions here. We're not asking all of them, nor are we asking all of them today, but we're going to start with 10 benign questions to see where it goes. Shall we rock, paper, scissors to see who asks the first question?
Well, you're already talking, so I think you should go first.
Just keep going. I could do that. No problem.
Yeah.
What were you like as a kid?
Hyperactive, and simultaneously introverted. I was an only child for a lot of it before my sister was born. We got like
the age gap?
9 years.
Oh.
Yeah. Different dads too. So there was no continuity there. So we had a very totally different lives. And so I used to spend a lot of time on my own, used to read books, play with my toys, all that shit that kids did. And at school, because I didn't know, obviously I know now that I was autistic, I didn't know then that I was really hyperactive. And just for example of how hyperactive I was, one time the teacher went out of the class and then I started jumping across the tables between the group tables that everyone was working on. And just once, I did it once. It wasn't usual.
Once is enough. So I have a friend of mine. She did this, I think it was while she was in university. I don't remember actually the specifics of it. She did this study once she wrote a paper about birth order and how birth order affects personality. And if there's more than a 5-year age gap between you and your sibling, then you would also both take on, in your case, I guess, because you only have the one sister?
Yeah.
So you would simultaneously have the characteristics of the firstborn, but also an only child, and she would have the lastborn and only child because of the age gap.
Yes. Yeah.
Actually, and she never, there's 6 years, 8 years, 8 years, no, 7 years between my brother and I. And I'm the baby. So when I told her that there was like a 7-year age gap and I'm the baby, she just went, oh, that explains a lot. But she never told me what. She never told me what that explains. I still don't know.
Well, the funny thing is because I don't act like a typical firstborn kid. So like a firstborn is usually really conservative. They usually respond to authority well, and they tend to comply with their parents. And the lastborn, basically how I act and what you sound like, we're quite rebellious. Troublemakers.
I wonder how much of that had to do with would that be your hyperactivity and your autism that would have
I think no, my mum was useless.
Oh. Okay.
Yeah, but we'll move on for today though. Sure. But yeah, it was just parenting, and I kind of went to a lot of different schools when I was younger as well. So I think that I just had to keep trying to refit in every time. So I had to like force myself into extroversion, which wasn't my way. In order just to get on.
Did you move a lot as a kid, or did you just get kicked out of schools as a kid?
I did get expelled when I was in sixth form, but basically, when I was really young, I was going to like a local state school, but my mum got a bee in a bonnet about what school I was at. So my grandmother stepped in and helped me go to a private school, helped with the fees. Nice. But then my grandmother died, so that she couldn't obviously pay for me to go anymore. So then I had to go to another local state school. So that was 3 different schools before high school. Gotcha. And then when I went to high school, secondary school in the UK, I had one school that I went to, but I had to move to England to go there. So it's a completely different environment. And then I went to sixth form there, then I got expelled. And then I went to like 3 different colleges, and then I fucked about, and then I went to university. And then, I went to several different universities, but I did my degree at one university, and I was very consistent and well behaved.
Good for you. The end.
Yeah.
Am I
Okay,
asking you all your questions in a row, or is it your turn to ask me?
yeah, let's switch. Let's go.
Okay.
Yeah, because I have a tendency to waffle as well. I don't want us to get through like 10 questions and then, run out of time because I do talk too much.
All right.
So then, talking to school, then, did you ever get in trouble at school or with your family?
No.
Oh, that's easy.
Yeah, I was a decently good kid, and I also had an older brother and sister, so I got to see them
Hmm.
get in trouble. Like my sister once got in trouble because it was cold outside. So she decided she wanted to just go for a cigarette, but she didn't want to go outside, so she smoked inside. And so then I knew she got in trouble for that, and I was like, note to self, don't do stupid shit. So I did things that were trouble worthy, but fortunately, I never got caught for those things. So I didn't really get into a lot of trouble. Although my mom caught me smoking once. I hid it from her. I started smoking when I was like 13, 14.
Mm.
And this is when you could still smoke inside. And I worked at a grocery store near our house. And so I was sitting in this coffee shop on my break and I was having my last cigarette. The last cigarette in the pack, I didn't get paid for a couple of days. So this was like,
A big
oh, like
one, yeah.
it was the one. And I'm like, I'm right here when a shadow descends over me. I look up and it's my mom. And she sat across from me and she was quiet for a few seconds. And then she just went, so disappointed in you. And I was like, oh, can you just hit me? Like it would hurt less.
Yeah.
So then I was like, oh God, I was crushed. And then I put the cigarette out and she walked away. And then I was like, fuck, I don't have any more smokes. Like, but that was, yeah, not a ton of trouble. I didn't get caught for doing things that I should have gotten in trouble for. Like I skimmed by. Like there were times where I remember like sitting in the back of someone's car with a lit joint in my hand when an off-duty cop on his way to work stops and he sees like four kids parked on the street, all wearing like stupid sunglasses, listening to the Ramones, smoke billowing out of the car. He's like, "What are you guys up to?" We're like, "Nothing," and I'm like, just drove away. Like things, very close calls, but no
Yeah,
actual real trouble.
that is a close call.
Not the first. There was one time we were at the back of this like pool hall,
Mm.
and again we had been smoking some weed. And one of the guys we were with had like shaved off his eyebrow that day, so he's like skunk with mohawk, no eyebrow. We were in my friend's dad's car, so he had like Polish polka music. So we have that blaring out of the car. My friend and I are trying to polka dance all while, and then like a police cruiser pulls up behind us, and then he's like, "What are you guys doing?" We're like, "Just hanging out, like normal kids do,
Yeah,
dancing to
doing
polka music
polka.
behind a pool hall." Yeah, and then he was like, "All right, well, don't get into any trouble." I'm like, check. I was like, whoo.
Oh,
So yeah,
wow.
close calls, but no,
That's
no
a...
actual trouble.
I just noticed your nails, by the way.
Oh, you like that?
Yeah, they're really
I,
cool.
I used to be really into nail art many,
Mm.
many years ago before we got Zool. Like I would sit do like elaborate nail art things. And then we got Zool and she took up all my time because she was super cute. So I just dropped it. And I thought, hey, why not? For shits and giggles, I'll get back into it.
Yeah,
I'll
yeah,
ease into it. Something simple.
yeah.
Next question, sir. Where did you make your closest friends?
Mm. Oh, that's a tough question, actually. Because I had different kinds of close friends for different reasons at different times, I think. And I don't want to do any of them a disservice by not saying it's them.
So the fair and the category is growing up. So let's say your formative years before uni,
Mm. Yeah.
before that. So your high school. Let's go high school. High school.
Okay, so yeah, because we can't really do primary school because I moved around so much. But when I was in secondary school, I think my best friends I made were in another school. So I used to skive off my school and I'd hop over the fence and I'd go to their school and hang out with them on their lunch breaks and stuff instead.
How did you meet them if you weren't in school together?
From a mate at my school, he just invited me out one day, and then I just got talking to them in the street one time, and then ended up hanging out with them. And then, because my school, it used to be boys only, and my year was the first year where girls were allowed. allowed. I chose that deliberately. And we had like 3 girls per class in a class with 17 boys. So, and then so all the girls were in another school, so I went to the other school. And
That's fair.
yeah, you know, you got to diversify. But
Like
that's
3
usually,
girls per class.
yeah. And then I used to just hang out at their school all the time. And one of my mates there used to skydive off school as well, so we used to just go around the house and just watch Countdown and just drink cider while everyone else was sitting in class studying away. Yeah. So I'd say I think I made my closest friends there mainly because we all knew that we lived in the Matrix. Everything was crap. So just enjoy it while it's there. Yeah.
Excellent.
And I ended up having a few really good years hanging out with them.
Very nice.
So then, if you could have any job besides the one you have now, what would it be?
Kept woman. No.
Good luck.
I don't know. I was never one of those kids that knew what I wanted to be when I grew up. Like every job I've had, I have fallen into. Fortunately, the career that I'm in now, I fell into, but I quite enjoy, and I'm happy that I'm in it. But I was never like, oh, when I grow up, I'm going to do that. Like when I was a kid, I thought I'd grow up to be a vampire, but that's not a job, unfortunately. So I had to change my path. So I don't know. I just kind of fell into shit. There's no real job that I have seen that I thought that would be really cool to do, because everything has a downside. Like I was once told I miss my calling as like a therapist or psychologist,
Yeah.
but like a practicing. And I was like, that would be really cool. But then like, how do you keep from bringing that home and making other people's problems, right? Like that would be very distressing. And like, there's just, I don't know, I think everything has a downside to it. So I don't know what I would do. Probably as little as possible for as much as possible for as short a time as possible.
Well, hence the
I
podcast.
once upon a time wanted to be like a writer, but I could never just, I didn't have the focus to just like sit and document it and put it out there. But
again, hence the podcast. There's 2 reasons there why there's a podcast.
Right, that's true. And like, yeah, like I don't know. And I've always kind of felt like, because I used to work in a call center and I used to work the evening shift. And when you're working the evening shift, typically it's full-time students who have this part-time job. So they're there. And there was like a lot of people that I would meet who they were in medical school or they were in law school because they had grown up always wanting to be a lawyer. And part of me feels like that's really cool that you've always known. But then another part of me is like, but then you're closing yourself off to other opportunities and other experiences. And then what if you spend all that time going through law school and then you get to the end and you're like, this sucks. Like, what do you do?
Yeah.
Do you stick it out because you spend so much time in school and effort into it? Or do you, after getting $100,000 into student loan debt, spending 10 years in school, decide like, oh, I'm just going to go back and do something else? So yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I'm lucky to have fallen into something that I enjoy.
Yeah. Well, yeah. The other thing is like what you're kind of doing at the moment is actually loosely related to the whole psychology thing, you know, even though you're engaging with it in a different way, training people and doing all that stuff is actually related. I mean, our jobs are actually kind of similar in a lot of ways.
A bit. I just thought of one. I would like to be a game show host. I went to mic drop and I actually dropped it. Got it. Yeah. I think being a game show host would be a lot of fun. Nailed it.
What? Yeah. What game show though? Family Fortune, so you can laugh at all the idiots on there.
Yeah, something like that. Like, you know, I don't know if you remember, like the old school, like that. What was it called? The Newlywed Game, where you would bring on. Oh my gosh, there was this game in the 70s. It was terrible, and they would bring newlywed couples on, and they would ask this, like, one of the partners a question, and then they have to write down their answers. Write it down. And then they bring their, like, the wife or the husband would come out, and then they would ask them, what do you think your husband would say about this? And then if their answers matched, they would get points. If they didn't match, they wouldn't. But like, you would be surprised at how many times make whoopee came up as one of the answers, and like how many husbands got beaten with the carts. Oh my God. So that was That would be a lot of fun.
That would be. That would be.
I wouldn't want to be like Jeopardy, like not like a smarty pants game. It would have to be something kind of ridiculous.
Yeah. So you
That
can
you
really
could have
see
fun with.
people being genuinely silly.
Yeah, that would be a lot of fun.
Yeah, yeah.
Got it. Games for hosts. What was your favorite age?
I'm just waiting to die.
It hasn't happened yet. They've all sucked until now.
Yeah. Do you know what? Actually, I like being how I am now. That sounds like such a cop out, but I just, life is full of ups and downs for literally everybody. And if you spend too much time thinking about how shit it was at certain points, then you're never gonna get ahead in your life. And I just like where it is. I'm the culmination of everything that's happened to me ever. Yeah, I'm not awesome. I have loads of flaws. I could be a bit of a dick, but embrace it.
Good for you. It's a good answer.
Thank you. Are most of your friends single, dating, or married?
I'm old, sir.
So am I.
I'm older, sir. Most of my friends are in. Yeah, most of my friends are either married or in long-term committed relationships. I don't have. I think there's maybe only a couple of single ones in the bunch. But yeah, married or committed, or when you're in your mid-40s, you've got a widow here or there and a divorcee here or there, but mostly we're strapped down. Is it my turn? Didn't I just ask you what your favorite
No, I
age was?
asked you about your friends, I think. Yeah,
yes.
Yeah.
What? Okay, so no cop outs this time. What was your best year? Don't say this.
Wasn't that the same as the last one?
No, that was what was your favorite age. Oh. This is what was your favorite year, your best year, not favorite, best.
But 2022 is actually my best year. Like the only other year would probably be 2012, maybe.
What happened in 2012?
I was working at a university and I made a lot of friends there who were doing their masters and PhD programs. And it was just like a really great time in terms of my intellectual development. And I've got to teach students. I presented my work at 3 different conferences. I had to go to Texas to present my research. It was fucking cool. And like, it was just, I don't know. It was kind of like I was reaching a point where I was starting to think, oh, okay, I don't have imposter syndrome anymore. Like, this is actually going quite well, and I've actually achieved this myself. And yeah, things were going pretty well.
Good for you. That sounds like a great year.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, and the other year would be 2022, just because I've just come out.
That's when you met me.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, you were going to say something not about me.
I mean, it'd be awkward if I was about to actually say that. Well, no, really, it's because I met you, and you're just like a shining light in this shit life I have.
Well, that was my nickname in high school.
Shining light, yeah.
In this shit life that I have, that was it.
Yeah. Yeah, I just think it's going quite well. The last 3 years have been really crap. Not a sub story at all. It's just life, and I'm coming out of it now, and like everything that I'm achieving at the moment is because I've done it. And not to toot my own horn too much, but it's been pretty hard getting to this point, and I just feel like
you should toot your own horn. You absolutely should toot your own horn. That was a lot of hard work, and you put in the work. Good for you.
Yeah, thank you. And yeah, I just feel like I'm starting to get there. Like when you're trying to keep traction in your tires on the icy road, the last 3 years have felt like that, and I feel like finally I'm getting that traction. I'm picking up speed, and there's a lot of things now that I can do over the next 12 to 24 months. So
good for you.
Yeah, I am awesome. Thank you. All right, well, since we're still talking about me, What made you ask me out? I mean, accept my invitation. That was one of the questions in the list you
I
sent me.
know. The original Tempest psychology interview
Or any of them.
invitation.
Any of them. Why do you think I'm so amazing? And I'm the dog's bollocks, basically. I just want you
I
to
don't
tell
think
me
that
how
was the
great I am.
question. I don't think that was how the question reads. I don't know how. That's not how I interpreted that particular question. Interesting. Uh, so, for anyone who doesn't know, let's give the backstory. I had made a video. I don't even remember what the video was about. I think it was about my husband and I working from home. And then you popped up in the comments to say that you were doing this series of interviews for people. How would they manage the pandemic? And I think you actually said, I'm not a creeper.
Yeah, yeah.
But,
yeah.
and it was just for shiggles.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just thought, got that. That could be fun. Could be interesting. Let's see how it plays out.
Mm.
And then when you brought up potentially like, and I don't even know if it was sincere or facetious. It must have been sincere because here we are. We were like, oh,
Yeah.
the video does well. We could do a podcast. I was like, yeah, fuck, why not? So
No, well, it was sincere because like it's been a while since I've got on that well with somebody. And I felt like there was a lot more that we could have talked about, that because like sometimes at the end of a conversation you're like, oh thank fuck that's over, but like I wanted to keep talking and I wanted to find out more, so
I am a delight. So
yeah, exactly. I'm not gonna put it the same way, but you know. But I just thought, yeah, like, you know, I felt that our conversation was entertaining and it was interesting, and I wanted to find out more about you, so I was like, well fuck it, I'll just ask, because if you don't ask then you'll never get anything in your life.
Exactly. Someone once said to me, if you are afraid of hearing no, you're never going to hear a yes. And
yeah, exactly.
Yeah, so, which is what kills me. Like I have a lot of conversations with people where I will encourage them to do something and they're like, but what if? Like, what's the worst that's going to happen, right? The worst that's going to happen is someone will say no.
Yeah, exactly.
Someone's going to punch you in the face, right? Like they'll just say no. And then you're like, oh, okay, well now I know. And then you just move on. But no, I thought it would be interesting. And I figured like, if I hated it, it was only going to last an hour. So
exactly.
And then I never had to see you again. So how bad could it have been?
Yeah, I mean that's kind of how you know, people should think about anything in their life. It's only an hour. If I hate it, I'll just leave.
Right? I've seen people like so wrapped up in not being able to exit themselves from situations. Like I had a colleague who decided to leave her husband of like 15 years with less thought than she quit her job.
Yeah.
And it was just very bizarre. It's like you don't have to be stuck in a situation you're not happy in. So if you don't like it, just figure out a way to get out of it.
Yeah, I mean, and even though the grass might not be greener on the other side and all that, you still got to find out.
Exactly. I mean, it's just a different shade of yellow. But it's also about what you can manage, right? Like it's not like anyone leaves one situation and gets into one that's particularly perfect. It's just maybe the things that piss you off about this situation don't piss you off about this situation, but there's different things that piss you off about this situation, but those things are more manageable.
Yeah, yeah. And I think that I mean there's a whole rabbit hole you could go down about this, like in terms of if you're, because we obviously starting a new venture and stuff like that, you got to make sure you have the same expectations of it and you have the same kind of things that you want to get out of it, or if they're not the same, they're at least complementary. You know, because a lot of people go in not discussing those things and not getting the groundwork laid down before they just agree and go carpe diem. I've
made a huge mistake.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Okay, my turn. So this is related to your best year. Would you go back if you could?
No, never. Because, well, time doesn't work like that, does it? I'm joking. I don't really see much point in wanting to go back to things. I can always reminisce about them if I want to remember them, but you know, life progresses in a certain order for a reason, and you take everything that's happened to you and then you go forward. Well, I don't want to go back to a previous version of myself. Me from 10 years ago was a dick, and then like not literally, but like he was like this is the same for any human being. Your personality isn't as developed 10 years ago as it is now. You've got all of these new experiences, so why wouldn't you want to just keep taking them and keep moving forward? the two worst enemies, I think, to people's personalities is stagnation and nostalgia. If you focus on,
Interesting.
yeah, I think if you focus on either one of those too much, then you're gonna fuck yourself over. But,
I
yeah.
agree. Good answer.
um, This is going to sound so benign after that one. That was quite a deep question. What's your favorite holiday tradition?
We don't have a lot of traditions. Yeah, we're not a very. I mean, we get together on holidays like Easter. We get together and Christmas and stuff, but we don't have. We tried. My family. We tried doing stockings once for like a couple years, and we're like, sucks. Let's not do that anymore. But yeah, no big traditions. It's just really about just getting together and eating a shit ton of food. My mom makes way too much food. She plans it weeks in advance, months in advance. Like it's Easter's in 3 weeks, and I'm actually surprised she hasn't been like, here's the menu for Easter.
Maybe that's why she was calling.
Could have been probably. But yeah, no, we get together, we eat, we drink, we be merry. No, although when my parents had their first cottage, because my brother and sister are 7 and 8 years older than I am. So when I was like 12 or 13, they didn't want to leave me at home with them because they would fuck off for the weekend and then I'd be stuck at home. So I would have to go to the cottage with my parents. So that we actually had like, we would, on like the Saturday night, we would make like tea and have biscuits and we would play gin together. And then
Oh, cool.
that was, yeah, we had like little traditions that way where we would just like play cards together. And then I would aggressively sing, there's a Portuguese song about the CN Tower. I would sing that really obnoxiously loud just to bother my parents, or the theme song from Green Acres, which was a fantastic show with Zsa Zsa Gabor, Ava Gabor. Anyway, so yeah, I would do that. And every time we would drive home from the cottage, we would like stop in at a Burger King and get some burgers, come home. So we had non-holiday traditions, but not
Yeah.
any real holiday traditions.
But you were on holiday though.
Not really. It was a weekend at the cottage.
Yeah, it's a holiday.
It wasn't like a vacation. It was just like we're going to the cottage.
But what we have to do is define what a holiday is and then discuss the nature of a tradition.
No, we don't. There was one that I learned. So, and when the cottage that we had, the first one had like really, really high ceilings. So for the very first time, because I never grew up with a real Christmas tree. So the very first time we had a real Christmas tree. And my mom brought this like tradition that they had in Portugal to this Christmas because we invited all the neighbors over for like a big party. So apparently, when my mom was growing up, one of the traditions on the island they grew up on was that you would make these little packages as decorations for your Christmas tree. So you would wrap up like figs and candies and other little things and then hang them from the tree. So when you had guests that would come over, you could just take one off the tree and give it to them. So my parents made a bunch of those and we hung them from the tree with like little mini bottles of booze and figs and other stuff in them. So when we had our guests, they would come over and eat, drink, and be merry. When they would leave, we would pluck one off the tree and give it to them. So that
That's
actually
cool.
was kind of sad. We didn't do that more, and I think I would like to bring that back.
That's quite a cute little tradition, actually.
I thought it was adorable.
Yeah.
We don't get a lot of guests around our house, so it would just be my husband and I pulling out the like those great baby bottles and eat some pigs.
Or you could give Zula goes the treats every day.
I make them treats at Christmas time. I bake
That's
for my
adorable.
dogs. I bake them birthday gifts as well.
That's
and they little like these little. I may or may not have tried them myself.
I've seen the video of you trying dog treats.
Yeah, they're fucking delicious. Like some of them, they look like little teddy bears, and they taste like they're so good. They're expensive though, so you wouldn't want to make like a habit of it because dog treats are expensive. But I've made them like a pumpkin oatmeal cake with like peanut butter frosting for their birthday, or like little chickpea flour and apple donuts. And I make them for my neighbor's dogs too, because
And then do you end up eating half of them yourself?
yes, I do. They're tasty because they don't have a lot of like added sugar or any other ingredients, right? And it's all like chickpea flour and applesauce and oats, peanut butter. How can you go wrong with that?
So you do have a favorite holiday tradition. It is making food for the local pets and eating most of it yourself.
Not local pets, my pets. I give zero fucks about anybody else's pets. That's the truth.
Fuck them.
I've just recently started to do that, and I've just recently started to do like Christmas baking, where I will
Mm,
bake cookies and give them to my neighbors and have them
yeah,
around the house.
there you go. See, you do
It's a
have
new.
tradition.
It's not a family tradition. It's just me being a glutton.
But the question specifically said favorite holiday tradition, didn't mention family.
Okay, that's it. That would be the one.
I definitely any tradition that involves food, I'm up for.
That's why I love Halloween.
Yeah.
Actually, I don't love Halloween. We don't give out Halloween candy
Mm,
because dogs,
mm.
they bark at
Oh yeah.
shadows. So if we had kids coming to the door, then you'd have 90 pounds of gozer rushing towards the door. Horrifying.
Eating
But
children.
so I guess my favorite holiday tradition is going to the stores on November 1st to buy all the Halloween candy on sale.
Brilliant.
Did you play any sports as a kid?
Yes. Oh, I did karate. I played rugby and I played football, which is probably soccer in Canada. So yeah.
In Portuguese, we call it football in Portuguese.
Yeah. Well, there we go. I played football like a real
There you go.
European.
How long did you do karate?
Only a few years, probably about 4 or 5. I got to green belt, which wasn't very high. It's about halfway up, but I used to hate it. Hated going every week.
Oh,
I had to go twice a week.
why?
I don't know. It was just something I didn't want to do, and I could get quite demand averse. That if someone's telling me I have to do it, I immediately don't want to do it.
Mm.
I'm not as bad in my adult life. I've kind of come to terms with that. But as like a 12-year-old, yeah, I used to hate it. But I used to love. I did. Oh, and swimming as well, but I never did that competitively. So on like Sunday night and I think Tuesday night I did karate. Then Saturday morning I'd go swimming lessons. Then I'd do football, and then sometimes I have to play a game of rugby for my school, and I'd have rugby training twice a week as well. I think so.
Damn.
What TV show do you think was cancelled too early?
Dead Like Me. I don't know if you ever saw it. So it's this girl on. She's 18 years old, and she's I think coming from a job interview or something, and she gets hit with like a chunk of ice. I think it's like the toilet thing. I forget what they call it, blue ice or something that is expelled from an airplane. She gets hit by it, and she dies when she's 18. But then she comes back as like a reaper. So she has this little team of reapers, and Whitney from is it A Different World? She was in it. Mandy Patinkin is in it. And there's like a couple other people who are all these reapers, and their job is to like take someone's soul the moments before an accident. So that's their job. So they would get like little post-it notes, and then they'd have to go out. But it's them like coming to terms with being dead, and the way other people see them isn't the way that they see themselves. So like she could go see her mom, but her mom wouldn't recognize her because she looks different. So it was very clever. They ended it, I think, after 2 or 3 seasons, but then they made a movie to try to wrap it up, and the movie was terrible. But it was such a good show.
I think I've seen the first episode of that. The whole death by toilet ejection sounds familiar.
It was so good. It was so good. There was another one that popped into my head, but I can't think of it right now. But it will probably come back to me. Like all the clever coming of age ones, like My So-Called Life, Freaks and Geeks, those that were actually showed what high school was really like, and not the super sanitized Saved by the Bell or Beverly Hills. Yeah, like the what it's really like to be a teenager. Those all got canceled way too soon.
Yeah, I don't know any of those shows.
So. Oh, so good. My So-Called Life was how Claire Danes and Jared Leto got their start.
Oh, really?
Yes.
I really like Claire Danes. The first film I saw her in, like, it was somebody's grandmother telling the story of her life, and then Claire Danes plays her younger version.
Oh, I haven't seen that.
It's really good. She's really young when she was in it. It's before Romeo and Juliet, I think.
She's a fantastic actress.
Yeah, brilliant.
And Jared Leto seems like a bit of a douche, but he's a good actor.
He puts effort in.
Did you play any instruments as a kid?
Yes, very badly, but I used to play guitar because I listened to all my metal bands and I wanted to do the same music.
That's why I played Rock Band and Guitar Hero.
Yeah, exactly. I'm shit at that too.
I was a master.
Yeah. What's your favorite book to read?
I can't.
That's why I put it in because I saw you talk about it the other day.
I did talk about it the other day, and then a couple people in the comments said, give me a list of your favorites. And so that's where this pile comes in, because I was compiling, and this is, no, don't look, you're ruining it. But
I like that one.
Which one?
Which one? Hang on, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 from the bottom. 8 from the bottom. From the bottom.
Neverwhere?
Yeah. I didn't know if I was allowed to say it or not, because
it's so good. So I've taken some off the shelf, but they're like favorites for different reasons. This one, The Book of Lost Things, I'm gonna say of this list, I'm gonna say The Book of Lost Things, because it takes a very different perspective on like fairy tales. Like this kid ends up in this world where Snow White isn't like full of light and love. She's kind of like a super bitch to the dwarves, and they fucking hate her. So like it just takes everything and kind of like gives it a bit of a twist. So a good read. I can't decide on a favorite. It's by what mood am I in? What genre is it? Like they're just
exactly.
I would if I had children, I could probably more easily pick my favorite child than I could.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can't. I'm gonna. I'll say Christopher Moore, Lamb. It's here. They're not listed in order. They're listed alphabetically. Lamb, The Gospel According to Biff, Christ's Childhood Pal. Christopher Moore is probably one of my favorite authors, but that book in particular, it's the story of like Christ when he was a kid and his best friend Biff, and like them growing up and getting into shenanigans. Yeah, it's a dark comedy, as is everything Christopher Moore writes, but it's so good.
I've never heard of him.
He's so good. I walked into a bookstore once and I was looking for something different, and I asked the guy who worked there, I was like, I want something that's different, that's kind of dark, funny, and whatever, and he recommended it. And then I immediately, after finishing reading it, bought every Christopher Moore book I could find. I buy every book that he writes. He actually includes his email address on the book. So after I read the first one, I emailed him.
Yeah.
Never expecting a response. He fucking responded.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, it's just so good. And the audiobooks, I've listened to a couple even after having read the books, because Fisher Stevens, who's a brilliant actor, but he narrated them, and he can narrate books. Like that's what his next career path should be. He did a brilliant job.
I've never heard of that
Christopher
actor
Moore.
either.
Christopher Moore. Have you seen the movie Hackers?
Yes.
With Angelina Jolie. Okay, so he's the bad guy who goes around a skateboard.
Oh, him. Okay, yeah. I can't believe there's somebody else that I've met now that has seen Hackers. Usually people just give me a blank look.
No, I love that movie. It's so good.
Yeah. It's so ridiculous. That's why I like it.
It's amazing.
All these homeless teenagers running around.
They're not homeless. They had homes. Angelina Jolie was like kind of rich.
Are any of them as horrible as this book?
You didn't like it?
Oh, no, I like it. I haven't got very far yet. I had to stop it for a few days because of my withdrawal. And my withdrawal was making me a bit more emotional than I wanted to be. So I thought I'd read it. So I'm going to start reading it again tonight. It's.
I think that's just a future podcast conversation, because I think that book, there's a lot to unpack.
It is amazing.
Thank you. Do you see yourself ever going back to school?
Yeah. If the need arises or I get the opportunity, doing a degree was the best thing I ever did in my life.
For you?
Yeah, I mean, like, I'd done an apprenticeship in engineering before that, mechanical engineering, and it was quite fun. But I don't know, going to university, and I guess it's because I was older when I went. I don't know, it's just the best experience of my life, really. And then I did my master's right afterwards. And considering I work at a university as well, I've never left school, I guess. I'm always like doing something to do with it. So yeah, I guess my...
So resounding yes. Okay.
Yeah. The question would be, am I ever going to leave school? I just couldn't imagine not learning. I just fucking love it. Anyway, nerd. That's why I wear the glasses. It's not for my eyesight. It's just
They're
because
not
I'm a
real?
nerd. Yes, it's how I identify as a nerd. So
I get it.
um, what's the last show you got addicted to?
Show?
Mm.
Um, Cowboy Bebop.
Oh, hang on, the animated or the new version? Just out of interest.
No, the new version.
Yeah.
And I'm sad that it got canceled. There's another one that
Yeah, me
got
too.
canceled too soon.
Yeah.
I tried the animated one and I just couldn't get into it. But
Same.
the non-animated one, I was like,
Yeah.
my husband and I thought we'd give it a shot. We watched one episode and then we were both like, I'm gonna get another one again. So we just kind of like binged it. That was the last one that I got that excited about.
And it was another show cancelled because the hardcore part of the fan base were dickheads. So
Yeah.
it just got cancelled. And it was
which is a shame.
Yeah, I was enjoying it. It's a very good.
Yeah, me too. I really
Again,
liked it.
You're the only person I've met or that I know that has seen that show. And that also didn't like the animated version because I didn't like it either.
Yeah.
I couldn't get into it. I'm not
No, I
into
couldn't
that.
get into it.
Like I like there are
I think shows when they get canceled prematurely, they should do a Firefly did, right? Because they got canceled prematurely and then they wrapped it up with the movie that answered all the questions and did all that. Like I think if it's got a solid enough fan base, just it doesn't have to be like a theatrical release. Just wrap up the storyline. Put out a 2-hour, here's the finale, gonna answer all your questions episode.
Exactly. And like I felt like the show was actually quite deep in some places. And like people had issue with the actress that played the female lead. I can't remember the character's name.
Why?
Because she didn't look ridiculously cartoonish like the animated version. She wasn't
Well, it's not a
buxom
cartoon.
enough.
It's a real person.
Exactly. That's basically what the actress said. Like, well, I'm sorry I don't like a cartoon character, but what do you want me to do
She was
about
stunning. I thought she was stunning.
So,
People are fucked
and
up.
she was a good actor as well. Like,
yeah, she was.
I'm
My
annoyed.
turn, your turn?
Your turn.
My turn. Did you always see yourself? Did you always want to do what you do now?
No. I don't know where to begin. Not a big monologue, but when I was at school, I didn't want to do anything. I just wanted to fuck about and just drink and all that other stuff. And then after school, when I eventually did my apprenticeship, I wanted to join the army, but then I fucked my back up. So I used to be in the Army Reserves, but I fucked my back up, so I couldn't do that. So I changed to psychology, and that's where I've been ever since. So I've had to change my career like 3 times.
I think I've heard that most people do. They do have multiple career changes.
Not usually before they're 30 though.
Not usually. Fast tracking. Overachiever.
Yeah. Okay, so following up from the movies question, the book question, I mean, who are your favorite bands?
Bands. Okay, this one might be actually easier to answer because even though there are some bands that I like depending on my mood and what I'm kind of doing, there are some very, very consistent bands. So I would say The Clash, Ramones, Stranglers, Jane's Addiction. How many do you want? Because I can keep going.
All of them. Just say all of them. Every single band you've ever liked ever.
Nine Inch Nails, Smiths, The Cure. I'm trying to think of like the favorites. The ones that David Bowie. Misfits.
Next week, are we going to get a big stack of CDs next to the books?
You might. I would say if I was to pick like my desert island bands, maybe The Clash, the Ramones, and Elton John.
Oh yeah, he's amazing.
Very Clash, Ramones, Elton John, because that's every mood I have covered.
Yeah, and Elton John fulfills a lot of moods, I think, because he has so many different types of music he does.
Yeah, because I mean, it's not like the Ramones or the Clash are known for like ballads or anything.
Yeah.
Elton John has Elton John, you can dance to have the music, you can
Mm.
slow dance to have the music. Like he's got an excellent mix. Sir Elton John. This is your last question.
Oh no.
I know.
Is it going to be
Okay,
a
we got
real big? Is it be like
no.
dropping the A bomb?
We've got I printed them. I've got 5 pages of questions. There's no lack of questions. What do you like about what you do?
Which bit of what I do? The
Let's say
academia?
the psychology. The
Okay.
psychology.
Yeah. It's just I do a lot of stuff. So
You do a lot of stuff.
Yeah. The bit I like the most is, I guess, being my own boss. Nobody puts me in a corner.
Baby in a corner.
Yeah. I like the amount of alone time I get. I like it when I get a good student that really is heavily, no matter their ability level, but as long as they're invested in what they're doing, that's always really good to see. I like the opportunity for being able to just read loads of things constantly and just I forget most of what I read, but the bits I do remember, it's always really fun. Yeah, I just like being able to just be myself all the time and not have to play office politics and deal with shitbuggery all the time.
That's fair. That's fantastic answer.
Oh no, wait, I answered it wrong. The best bit about what I do is being able to sit here and converse with you once a week. The highlight of my life. To answer it properly.
To answer. How could it not be? How could it not?
Okay, your last question.
My last question.
What was the last thing you Googled?
Garden fencing.
Oh,
How exciting could it have been? How to build an A bomb? Like how?
what a fucking letdown!
I know. Sorry. Garden fencing. Before that, it was directions to the restaurant I was going to. Before that, it was Harsalzen's Ear Me.
That was funny.
Nothing exciting. Garden fencing.
What a bummer to fade to
No.
black to.
I know. We should just fade to gray. Fade to